This is the 2025 Kia Carnival. Now, we've been fans of Kia's big... Well, that was weird. Wow, people really don't like that word. Anyway, we've been fans of the brand's boxy MPV, or life utility vehicle in Canada, Big Love, since it rolled onto the scene a few years ago. Now, Kia updated it for 24 with more tech, more safety, more family-friendly features inside, and then wrapped the whole thing up in a shape that's even more SUV-like. And that's good, but for 25, I think there's an even bigger change, one that can be appreciated by both families and those who just enjoy the practicality of a sliding door vehicle anyway, a hybrid powertrain. Now, Kia and Hyundai, for that matter, have been putting this 1.6-liter Turbo 4 hybrid power plant in just about everything for the last few years, but there are some changes for the Carnival. For starters, it has a more powerful electric motor, which is actually the most powerful of all the Kia hybrids with 72 horsepower, and that helps it make a combined 242 horsepower, which is 45 less than the V6. Torque is up, though, at 271 pound-feet, which is actually more than any other M-Word vehicle. And it's available pretty early on, too, because it's a hybrid. Now, the 6-speed auto still sends power to the front wheels. If you want all-wheel drive in your big box, that's still a Toyota or Chrysler game. Out on the road, this new powertrain just makes so much sense. It's well-mannered, and while it isn't what I'd call quick, it feels appropriate for a vehicle this size. It's pretty quiet, too, unless you're flooring it to pass a vehicle. Some of that quietness has to be attributed to the improved aerodynamics, though, of the hybrid model, because it gets active front flaps that give it a better coefficient of drag than any other Carnival. Out here on the winding roads in San Diego, you could put the Kia in sport mode and it'll handle the twists better than you might expect. But like a parent, it's not angry that you're being a hooligan, it's just disappointed. Honestly, it probably rides slightly better than the last Telluride I was in. I know people will complain that there's no all-wheel drive, but you probably don't need it. The hybrid also gets paddles on the steering wheel to handle the regenerative braking, which is becoming more of a thing on regular hybrids. It works pretty well. There's 3 different levels, and while they're subtle, there is a noticeable difference. I will say that the highest setting is just a little strange. It's hard to judge, but the rest of the settings are pretty good, and it just scrapes back a little more power for that battery pack. And again, I feel like I have to point out the fuel economy. It's 50% better than before. That's huge. 33 miles per gallon or 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers is not the best in the segment, but it's not far off, and it's pretty easily attainable based on my limited driving experience today. Also, it's going to more than pay for itself in a few years. According to the EPA, you're saving $4,000 after 5 years, and that's at current gas prices. In fact, the only real drawback I see with the hybrid is if you regularly tow, because you are losing 1,000 pounds of capacity, because this is rated to a max of 2,500 pounds. Of course, the rest of the Carnival experience is just as good as the rest of the upgraded lineup for 24. I have a twin screen setup sitting in front of me, and it's 12.3 inches on both sides. The base gas model does have a different driver display, and it's largely good. It runs the new infotainment system, which is quick and looks cool, but just like the old one, it sometimes takes a little bit of time to get used to the menus because it isn't always clear that you're in a sub-menu or a sub-sub-menu. But I also don't love Kia's native navigation still, but there is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you have that should you need it, and it works pretty well. There's a wireless charger. There is a head-up display that is full color. It's 11 inches, so it's pretty big, and it provides a lot of useful navigation info. This cabin has a brown and black combination that you can see. I really like the white and blue leather option that's available on this trim as well. New for this year is a digital rear view mirror, which is also just handy if you've got the back of this thing all filled up. Turn that on and you can see clearly behind you.
Hey there.
The top trim still retains those fancy relaxation seats in the second row. They're cool, don't get me wrong, but I still think it kind of goes against the point of a vehicle like this because A, they're heavy, and B, you can't remove them. But if you're buying the top trim, chances are you probably aren't filling this with lumber or something, so I guess that makes sense. One thing I think is pretty fascinating is that Kia has made a point to let us know that they've expanded the cup holders in the front by 16 millimeters, and that is now big enough to hold a Starbucks Trenta drink or, bigger water bottles. I personally would have went with a big gulp comparison, but I guess I'm just not classy like that. There are some other clever, just family-focused features in this cabin as well. So the climate controls in the second row are up in the ceiling, so little ones can't keep messing around with it, but adults can. I still don't love this swappable panel down below the center touchscreen. It's getting better. Kia has added the ability to pick one of the menus as your preferred, and so it will go back to that after you've fiddled with the other one. But that's the thing, is it still requires more taps than sometimes necessary. One swappable thing I really do like is the charging setup down below, where you have the choice to use the USB-C as your phone mirroring spot or just a straight up charger. And while I am complaining about the touch panel for the climate controls, I do want to commend Kia for having a few physical buttons right down by the storage cubby. There is a toggle for your heated and ventilated seats and a button for your heated steering wheel, which has two different levels of heating, which is pretty rare, so good job, Kia. Kia has also upgraded the safety suite for this year, which is great for a vehicle that is very likely to be carrying a lot of your loved ones. Now there is a new side airbag that goes between the front passengers just to avoid them hitting each other in the event of an accident, which I think is a really important upgrade. There are some choice upgrades to the driving assist suite as well, including on this top trim, Highway Drive Assist 2. Now, it still requires your hands on the wheel, although I will say it's pretty lax about that on the highway here, and it will allow for assisted lane changes. So you do the light tap, it checks, makes sure it's all clear to go, and does just what you need. Pricing is another strong point for this hybrid model because the upgrade in the US is just $2,000 on any of the 4 trims that it shares with the gas model. In Canada, there's 3 hybrid options, and the upgrade is $2,550. Like I said, not that much. It'll pay for itself in a few years. In cold, hard numbers, we're looking at $41,895, including destination, for the base LXS model in America, or $48,595 Canadian for the LX Plus. Now, top trim pricing is $56,990 in the US and a bargain play $58,745 in Canada. Now, the 2025 Kia Carnival Hybrid is a wicked deal, and it's also just so much better on gas than that V6. That was always there's that word again. That was always the vehicle's weak point, and now, with 50% better fuel economy, it'll pay for itself in no time. Add in all the creature comforts and generally good manners of the Carnival just overall, and this becomes a really strong argument, not just for families, but like I said, people who just want something big and practical. Just don't say